we're live. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. We do this twice a week these days at 4 o'clock, Sundays and Wednesdays, Eastern Time. And I will post a copy of this show up on YouTube after with all the subjects time-stamped and video on Twitter as well. Next week we may try to stream live to Twitter. We'll see. I'll let you guys know. Let's see. This episode of the Jimmy Doane Show brought to you by DuPont. DuPont, makers of all the stuff you love to hate. We make gunpowder that goes into bullets, chemicals you can put on your lawn, and the plastic that goes into the straws and grocery bags. You need us. You know it. You want us on that wall. You can't handle the truth. So buy DuPont and have a nice day. Even if it's the expensive tomorrow. It's not. It's really not. DuPont. Not actually a sponsor. So today is the 15th of September, 2019. And what is happening?
Okay, good news. Jimmy Doane here, and we got some really interesting news. First of all, one little piece of information is the Gators pulled it out.
Oh, yeah.
Pulled it out at the Kentucky game, which means next week...
Big money.
Big money for us because we park cars for the home game. So we're looking forward to that already. I haven't figured out whether they're going to spend the money first or maybe we should wait till we get it.
I don't know.
Because if it rains, of course, we're doomed.
Well, sort of. I mean, they'll show up. It's Tennessee. It'll be a good game.
That's right. Okay, so anyway...
oh my God, there's so much news this week.
I mean, really, there is lots. In fact, there was, as I was coming over here, there was even more news.
I know. I picked a story out in the last second, literally.
I did the same thing. But let me start off with what I have here in this order.
Do it.
Microsoft president, democracy is at stake, period, regulate big tech.
No shit. Yeah.
No, seriously. Regulate us. That's the unexpected message from one of the country's leading tech executives. Microsoft President Brad Smith argues that the governments need to put some guardrails around guardrails, quote unquote, around engineers and the tech titans that they serve. If the public don't, he says, the internet giants will cannibalize the very fabric of this country. Now, this is so well. What's fascinating about this is that we need to work together. We need to work with the governments. Now, at any time, one of the things you have to understand is if you don't have guns and you want to get something done, you align yourself with somebody that does have the guns, and that's the government. So, frankly, something's far more important than technology: democracy. Yeah, well, you say that. It was here before us. It needs to be here and healthy after us. Smith has co-authored the Promise and the Peril of the Digital Age. The title reflects the simple fact that how any technology, and digital tech in particular, works. It can be a tool or a weapon. And it's interesting because that applies to almost anything. I mean, how about the internal combustion engine? You can put that in the P-51 Mustang, or you can use it for a truck. So Microsoft is not in the crosshairs. But here's the interesting part. When it was, and I remember this, watching the hearings when they called Bill Gates, young Bill Gates up there. At the time he was younger.
The Sun Microsystems case?
No, Microsoft.
Yeah, I know, but against Sun or whatever.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. No. This was, Congress thought that Microsoft was too big. Why? Because they had included there were complaints.
Yeah, they included their browser
in the thing, right? And they said, well, you need to separate it. And that, as part of the settlement, as Microsoft explained to the Congress people who had no idea, you think about this was in the 90s when you ask any one of the 100 senators or 435 House members what a mouse was, and they say, well, that's a little rodent, it runs. Nothing. They had nothing. So they were oblivious to what was going on in tech. They didn't want to stop them though, because there had been some complaints from Netscape and some other people that had browsers. And what Microsoft had done was to make it easy enough that if you wanted to download Netscape and use it as your browser, you could do that.
Yeah.
And even now, of course, you can always do that. Of course, this might be as a result of it, but now when you go use a browser, a little window pops up and says, I notice this is not your normal browser.
Yeah.
Would you like to make it your default? So, but the point was that Bill Gates, he was a young guy. He didn't understand the way that politics worked, and he caved a little bit on this stuff. But this was the entire multi-trillion-dollar government coming down on this little guy. Because they thought he was, up on the technology.
Well, this stems straight out of the trust-busting days of the.
Totally. Well, wait a minute. It gets better. It may not be in the crosshairs right now, but when it was back in the '90s, Smith, the guy who's now coming out with this guy, what's his name, Brad Smith, in the '90s, he was the opposite.
Okay.
In the '90s. Smith was a man repeating the well-worn refrain about how regulation kills innovation. And he was right. Regulation, it does kill. I mean, regulation, who are they to know what the future is like?
Right.
I mean, the innovation is something that has a person that looks into the future and tries something out. You do understand that most of the time the innovations fail.
Sure.
But the successful ones are so great that they outweigh, or else we would have no progress at all.
Right, and there's a great meme I was just trying to pull up here of this people, and they're standing in a pool, and there's two very tall people who are way above the water, and they are government and big tech, and then the two little people who are drowning are the small businesses, and of course the water is taxes and regulation.
Right.
And of course big tech is going to call for this because they want to snuff out the competition using government.
Exactly.
And it's amazing because you hear these people who are pro-antitrust talk about the anti-competitive efforts that companies have taken. Well, of course they're taking anti-competitive efforts. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
What do you want them to do? Take competitive efforts? Help their competitors? No. The whole point is you fight your competitors. But, of course, this is the next level, which is getting the government involved, getting yourself a nice government-sanctioned monopoly or control. Microsoft also, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say along those lines, what I find fascinating, believe it or not, is how many of the big companies do allow their competitors in. And I'll give you an example. When Ford was making all the money in the world in the 20s, they were the biggest. He was filthy rich. The Japanese people. He would invite people over to come and see how he did it, what the line was like. And I was watching a series on YouTube or whatever about the beginning of the Citroën and the beginning of the Panhard, and those people all came over to the United States and they saw what was happening and they went home and replicated it. And Ford didn't care. I mean, that's and I can tell you
did just fine.
Yeah, right. Well, because they knew that they had the edge at this point.
Yeah.
But as we all know, 40, 30, 40, 50 years later, well, I mean, even when General Motors came in and started saying, because of Ford's, when he said you can have any color you want as long as it's black, and the first thing that General Motors did was to start painting the cars up, and when the next people started buying, that's when General Motors really took off. Okay, point being that that the competition doesn't necessarily destroy you, and in fact it makes you healthier.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you have to continue to fight, what is it, Satchel Paige used to say, don't look back. You might find out who's gaining on you, because this was the deal. Keep running. And
Microsoft faced a suit back about that same time, whereby they accused them of colluding with Sun.
Okay.
And then before the case took like 7 years to work itself out, and before it was all over, whatever competitive advantage they had gained was reversed.
Okay.
And yet they were still going after them.
Right. They did the same thing with IBM. IBM was in litigation for years because people were reverse engineering some of their disk drives or something like that, and IBM didn't like this, so they tried to get these guys in for antitrust. It was a Japanese company, I think. There was replicating.
You can't get a monopoly unless you have guns.
That's exactly right.
The bottom line.
There's no such thing as a free market monopoly. Absolutely, just take that to the bank.
Especially in tech, which in another generation. I mean,
when you think about it,
how
in
fast?
Tech, right now. You can get an idea, and you can spread it to roughly 2 or 3 billion people in a nanosecond, and people build on it all the time. You look at I remember thinking about it originally when the website started coming up, and the first thing you would do is you'd go to the website and you'd say, "Is this a good website?" and you'd copy the crap out of it, and that's the really the collusion. And then the stuff went up, and of course nowadays you got I don't know how many hundreds of different website builders and so forth. So the fact is, and none of those people are being regulated, which is fine, as well they shouldn't be. So regulation, the whole idea is that regulation stifles innovation.
What's interesting is when regulation began, the name meant to make regular.
Oh yeah?
In other words, to allow to continue regularly, not to limit. It was the concept was they didn't want the states to stifle one another's businesses.
Right.
And so the Congress was going to make regular the.
Well, that's why. Yes, exactly. Well, that was why the original meaning for the Interstate Commerce Act, for interstate commerce in the Constitution, was to make it so that there was competition.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
And now it's the reverse.
Right. Now it's the reverse. Right. Now, speaking of big companies and governments, France and Germany agree to block Facebook's Libra. Wait a minute. In a joint statement, the two governments affirmed there is no private entity that can claim monetary power which is inherent to the sovereignty of nations. Now,
I told you.
No,
I told you.
I know.
Yeah,
This is so great because what is so funny about this is what these gibberish words mean is that we want to
own the money.
That's
not
right.
you.
Not you. The finance minister Bruno Le Maire on Thursday said that Facebook's new cryptocurrency should not be allowed to operate in Europe, where concerns persist about the sovereignty and persistent financial risks. Now, here's the question. Are there any financial risks with a central bank? No. No, not the fact that since our central bank showed up, that the value of the dollar has decreased by over 95%. Thank you so much for your regulation.
Yeah. And did you notice that this week, Mario Draghi, ECB president, whatever they call him, agreed to reinitiate QE over there.
Really? I didn't know. I didn't see that.
$20 billion a month.
No kidding.
And they lowered rates more. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe.
Yeah, right. Zimbabwe. I saw that. I have that.
Okay.
I have all that. Yeah. Let me. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead. Let me skip ahead to that right now, real quick. And I have to come back as long as you started it. Let me just hold on a second.
What I saw was that they allowed their interest rate to raise up to 70%.
That's right. That's what. Wait a minute. It gets even better.
And this is the only way they can try to combat the inflation that they've caused from the massive quantitative easing that they've done.
Well, what's interesting, I thought I had that, but I guess not.
I saw it on your list, but
did you?
Yeah.
I'm upset about this because what I had was there were two things. There were two things that were contradictory. The first one was all the people that are hooraying Mugabe's funeral. I mean, they're having a giant funeral. He was the founder. He was the hero. And my God, it's just he kicked the whites out and he had black supremacy. Okay, well, no, but who cares about that? And so
making up for
they're making up for all the past transgressions and so forth. And of course, it was an absolute 37 years. And I tell you, anytime somebody's 37 years in power, that's that's a term limit time. Anyway, the point being that there's all this laudatory stuff. They're not going to actually have. They're going to have a funeral like tomorrow, the next day or something, but they're not going to have the official state funeral for about a month. And this is going to give them time to build a mausoleum.
Oh God.
Yes, a mausoleum. Now, at the same time, announcing you can't use the dollar anymore in Zimbabwe. You have to use the new Zimbi dollar, whatever they call it. And they raised
garbage, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, right. So the point being, it's funny because I should have brought it over here. I have in my possession that I bought on eBay about a year ago or 2 years ago. Do you have one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I bought on eBay about a year ago, and it was a $100 trillion Zimbabwe dollar.
Yeah.
And so anyway, what they tried to do is they got the Nouveau Zimbabwe dollar or whatever it is, and now you're not allowed to use anything else, supposedly. In other words, if you get paid in dollars, you can't spend the dollars. You have to convert at the bank. You have to go to the bank and get the local money under penalty of death or whatever. But the main thing is what Volcker did in the 1970s, although we weren't in anywhere near as bad a shape as Zimbabwe, is they raised the interest rates to 15% in the government and 20-some%. This was in 1980, and all the mistakes of inflation were washed out of our economy between 1980 and 1982, and that's one of the reasons that Reagan had an 84 landslide victory, because the country had recovered by then. It only took a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's one of the problems they're having here, obviously, is that they refuse to do that. So, and that's the other thing, is that Trump...
Not only, but we're going the opposite direction.
Going the opposite direction. And Trump apparently has no problem with going not only to zero, but possibly negative interest rates.
Sure.
Which I'm sitting there thinking, you know, a negative interest rate is one thing if you happen to have Swiss francs. Or if you have to have Swiss francs, because they could be worth a lot more money in dollars, in terms of dollars.
Okay.
In other words, if you're like I've done this, I paid money to store Swiss francs in a Swiss bank.
And when you got them back, I
had more dollars. Right. That's right. So that you can do. But as you just said, they made that. But it turns out that's they've said that, according to their inflationary things, a lot of stuff's supposed to start on January 1st in Zimbabwe, and they've claimed, the government has said, well, our inflation rate currently is running somewhere between 150 and 300%. That's the government. And they rate independent people that are on the ground there. I don't know. People from other are saying it's running quite a bit more than that.
Yeah. Well, it's always a multiple of what the government says it is. The only people who would own negative interest rate bonds are two types. Either one, people who anticipate further negativity,
yes,
and then they're going to sell those bonds at a profit.
At a profit, right.
Or people who are anticipating some kind of deflation, massive deflation,
right,
whereby they're going to get more money back at the end. But you would still hold cash would be better than a...
Well, it's interesting because that kind of stuff has happened in this country before. When the greenbacks were issued during the Civil War by the Union, mm-hmm, they depreciated to nothing. But it turned out that as part of the settlement after the war,
right,
they redeemed them at full face value. Well, of course, the speculators were buying them up like crazy, knowing that the United States government was going to have to trade these out dollar for dollar, and they were buying the greenbacks up at 10 cents on the dollar. So the speculators made a fortune,
right,
on that.
Well, it could be obviously a massive bomb to the bond market if inflation spikes somehow.
Oh yeah, well,
those bonds get wiped out.
Totally. Well, that's not all. The real thing that gets wiped out that people don't talk about is the United States debt. We are now paying almost as much money on the debt, or like half as much money on just the debt interest payment on the debt is like half of the military budget at this interest rate. Mm-hmm. Now you can imagine if the interest rate were to double to 3%. Or something, and suddenly your interest payments. This is money that has to be paid. Otherwise you default. You have to pay that interest on the debt, and you can imagine if it goes from $300 or $400 billion, whatever it is on the debt today, to $800 billion. That money's got to come from someplace.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to come from printing. Draghi. The other thing that Draghi said was, we've done all we can do here at the central bank. We've lowered them practically as low as we're going to go, and it's not going to do much
so
better.
Now we're going to print money.
No, well, what he said was, it's now up to fiscal policy to carry us forward. So here's what this comes down to. Here's a bunch of free money that we're just going to give out to people. And then all of a sudden, what happened? They're not spending it. Yeah. Well, so here's what we'll do. We'll spend it.
Yeah.
We'll spend it ourselves, and we'll create the momentum, and what do they call it? The speed of revolution of the money,
right?
The velocity.
The velocity, right?
And so here these guys are. Wait. If this isn't going to bring the inflation, I don't know what is. Because if we do get massive fiscal stimulus spending, like infrastructure bill, and Trump would go for that in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
$1 trillion infrastructure.
Yeah, right here, right.
And so I just, this is, whew, man, crazy times financially speaking.
Yeah, it is. It's you know, and I pose this question. This is something that for years and years and years I did not know the difference between fiscal and monetary policy.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean seriously, and I ask our people here, do you know what the difference is?
Right.
And they talk. These are little shadowy words, and you think, well, the fiscal policy. What exactly is that? You know, that kind of stuff.
Right. And so people who don't know, monetary policy means manipulating the interest rate and the money supply, and fiscal policy means spending.
Okay. So it's okay. So moving along, just to go very quick on this, we were talking about Andrew McCabe.
Yes.
And he apparently, you know, the thinking at least last week in Washington was he's in deep doo-doo. And they convened a grand jury. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but the grand jury left on Thursday, I think, was today Sunday, with nothing came out of it yet. It takes them a day or two or three to figure out. When the grand jury, as you well know, the state's attorney or whoever these people are, the prosecuting, as you know, can indict a ham sandwich.
Right, because it's a one-sided presentation.
Totally one-sided.
The defense people don't get their attorneys.
Nothing.
It's just and they don't need a unanimous.
No, not even remotely unanimous.
Right.
It's just it might be a majority, but just barely. In other words, if you have a grand jury of 20
12 out of the people.
Yeah, 12 out of 20 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point being
Depends
that
on where you are.
what people are saying is if this ruling, if the no true bill, which means he didn't do it kind of thing, as far as we're concerned, if they come back with, if the thinking is this delay means that maybe they're having a little problem with, you know, what they're going to charge him with. And so maybe he's going to get off.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of leeway. Prosecutors can charge on their own in a lot of cases.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, grand juries aren't mandatory except for particular cases. Now, maybe mandatory in this particular case, I don't know. But oftentimes what they'll do is they'll use a grand jury in order to give themselves some cover.
Right.
So that somebody doesn't say, oh, well, the prosecutor just wants to go after that person.
Right.
No, there was the grand jury. It wasn't me.
Yeah, except for the fact that he was the only one that presented any evidence.
That's right.
Here's the ham sandwich. Now look.
That's right.
That's right.
Look at that evil ham. So look, and
Is that
McCabe.
kosher ham?
Not kosher. I have told everybody, McCabe. From my perspective, McCabe is the guy who started the entire Russia hoax.
Because he was offended. Somebody pooped on his wife.
Trump called his wife a loser, and that's when he entrenched the thing and say lost his mind.
Flames, horns.
Now, but I've also said from the beginning, that nobody's going to get prosecuted. Mueller didn't get prosecuted for this. I don't think McCabe's going to. They're just going to blow it off because they blow off prosecuting law enforcement. That's what they do.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty difficult. I mean, it is unusual when you hear of, and I think I might even have one here, when you have a policeman who on the video camera shoots somebody running away and, well, I feared for my life, they get off. I mean, basically.
It's definitely a different standard, I'm going to say.
No question. Okay, now, here's another thing, continuing item that I need to talk about, and that is Area 51.
Okay.
A YouTuber, two YouTubers actually, were arrested for going on 3 miles inside
That's where you are.
Yeah, I know. That's right. So Earthlings come here. This is great. No, that's right. So anyway, they'd driven in there. They're from Netherlands, and apparently they were spotted and they were arrested. And what I thought was interesting was they're YouTubers and they were filming everything. You know, they had cameras and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously they got
recorded the evidence.
They recorded everything, right? And that's right. Well, needless to say, they got snagged and all their stuff was erased and blah blah blah. And they were only like 3 miles in. Now you do understand that that where the alien is actually held is 20 miles in or someplace.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean if you look at the aerial view,
right,
which is not completely pixelated,
right,
but you can tell that it's quite a ways. You know, you have to go 15 or 20 miles to get to where where the actual aliens are held.
And it's unfortunate. I heard they canceled the event, moved it to Las Vegas.
That's what I heard. Yes, yeah. And so it's been canceled,
right?
But that doesn't mean that people aren't going to show up.
Well, I agree. I mean, there could be a lot of people who didn't hear about the cancellation.
Didn't hear about the cancellation, number one, and they're looking at it as a kind of a Burning Man kind of thing.
Why not?
And of course, they interviewed the lady who has the motel there. Mm-hmm. She didn't been no cancellations.
There you go.
So she says, as far as we're still expecting them.
Nice.
So that's interesting. So
the deposits.
So anyway, they call it a possibly canceled, but apparently the guy who started all this as a joke, has disowned himself.
Well, I know why he did that. That's
right.
Law enforcement. Right. They would come right after his ass.
That's right. That's for sure. Can you imagine? I love it. Now, here's the next thing that I wanted to get into. We've talked before about a black swan event that could bring everything down. I don't know, but this might be it.
You got another one? Okay. What
Yep.
prospect?
The drone attack on the oil facility shuts down half of Saudi stuff. Now think about it for a second. On so many levels, this is unbelievable. It was the Houthi rebels that apparently have got a hold of some fairly significant drone technology. They put in a half a dozen or 20 of these things in. They targeted some oil production facilities, blew them up, and now 50% of Saudi oil is offline. Now you do understand that, I don't know, 80% of their money or 90% of their money comes from oil.
Right. My first question was 50%. Really? My suspicion is that they probably shut down a lot of the production.
Could very well. Okay.
In order to prevent further catastrophe.
Okay.
And they could just turn it back on again.
Well, maybe, but again, if they can get in once, they can get in again.
Well, we've said for a while that drone warfare is going to change things as soon as they get.
This is the one where apparently they tried. They didn't. I think they maybe shot the wing off of one of them or something. There were like 20 of them that came in, and they didn't even get one. I mean, they were blasting them out, trying to blast them out of the sky, and couldn't do it. So my point is, what I'm saying is that you don't know what the black swan event is that collapses everything. But if the Saudis suddenly decide that it's in their interest to actually invade Yemen, I think is where the Houthis are, and really do some serious damage, and then we of course have to step up, I guess, or something. Who knows what? Well, don't.
I know. Our guys have been talking about it.
They totally have been talking about it. I mean,
but Bolton's out. So.
Well, that's true. Although he's still making a lot of noise. But anyway, he's out. But the other neocons are still in there. A lot of them. And
the one thing that I've been okay with Trump on so far is that he hasn't started any new wars.
Okay.
And I'm fingers still crossed that he's not going to get involved.
Okay, it could be. A little slow on the withdrawal part.
But he hadn't started any new ones.
That's true. I suppose that's right.
It could have gone. He could have got into office and been there 1 month and said, "That's it. We're going into Syria. We're going into wherever, every place."
Yeah. No, and he didn't. In fact, he said he withdrew some, I think, from Syria. So he withdrew a couple of things. But anyway, the estimate. Let's see. Around it turns out that they estimated to have halted around 5% of world oil. So that's what they estimate by that. So that's not a big deal. I mean, that's something. And of course, it's all that stuff's on the margin. So once you if 5% doesn't necessarily only mean a 5% rise, it also has how the deliveries are spaced out and so forth. As far as the pricing is concerned, and it takes a while. When there's I don't know how many tankers there are on their way here, but they take a month. And so they've already bought, sold, whatever it is, and so I
noticed there was no spike in oil.
No, there wouldn't. No, there wouldn't be. Anyway, a panel of experts, I love this part, experts told the United Nations Security Council that the Houthis, I mean, it is some kind of rebel group, I guess, has acquired drone technology from Iran. According to the New York Times, of course, we believe everything they put done. They've done drone strikes before at a distance of 500 miles, but this one is much deeper into Saudi territory, and if the rebels are to be believed, involved 10 drones. According to the Associated Press, Houthi drone capabilities have steadily increased from off-the-shelf models to versions that they're apparently doing themselves, the Houthis. Now, this is not a ragtag bunch of camel herders that are doing this stuff.
Well, even if it is, drone technology is fairly simple. At the end of the day, it's just getting easier and easier.
Right. Oh, yeah. We're technology once again. That's right.
We talked about last week that flight from, was it Russia all the way? There was long transcontinental flight
with the United Gulf nations of the West are saying, and everybody's accusing Iran for providing the technology. Well, guess what? Now it's Iran's fault, nobody else. So now maybe we have to go back to war with Iran. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Well.
Okay. The next, speaking of oil and energy. A study Of course, we love when anybody says a study. We always rely on these very heavily because experts, top men.
Right, sure.
Natural
Can't question a
study says renewable energy power plants will overtake natural gas plants by 2035. That's 16 years, okay?
Yeah.
No chance on
no.
this. I'm looking at this and I'm calling absolute bullshit. This is no chance, no way. On so many levels this can't happen. But it says natural gas is a behemoth in Pennsylvania in terms of production, consumption, and electricity, according to the U.S. Energy Information. About 40% of the electricity in Pennsylvania is natural gas, and just behind nuclear energy. The Commonwealth, Pennsylvania, produces so much natural gas that it exports lots of it, and has easily overtaken the coal industry, which of course started, oil and coal all started in Pennsylvania. So according to a new study, indicates that natural gas may not be on top forever because of renewable energy. And this is a hoot. According to the Rocky Mountain
We'll all be dead by then anyway, right?
Right, exactly.
2035.
2035. Right. We're
That's
done.
past the 14-year deadline
That's
and everything.
right. That's done. There won't be any environment then, so we're done. So that's the thing.
No Miami anyway.
But what I thought about this, the Rocky Mountain Institute, RMI, says it'll be more expensive to run 90%, more expensive to run natural, our carbon fuels or whatever it is than natural, than nature, renewable, renewable. By 2035, the Institute analyzed the construction costs, fuel prices, and operation costs of the 68 proposed natural gas power plants across the U.S., indicating that this was, they're going to be way expensive. What they didn't get into, and nobody ever has, are the maintenance costs and the brandy new transmission lines that have to be put up if you're going to use wind or solar. I mean, that is not free stuff. That infrastructure has got to be all complete. That's part of the expense of it. You don't just go out there and put a windmill up there. You have to, or a whole...
It's wireless.
Yeah, it's wireless, right. It's Tesla, like he did. But with solar, you got your whole panel of whatever they are out there, and then you've got no wires. I mean, think about the transmission costs.
Right. Well, and that's been one of the big things, and also when you
the
look
efficiencies.
Well, right, and if once you consider the areas that are good for things like solar and wind, they're not in densely populated metropolitan areas.
Of course, they might be once you get there.
What? Oh, what? Huh?
Well, here's the deal: if you have a wind farm, say, down the road here, I don't know where it is, and it turns out that electricity right off the wind farm is a nickel a kilowatt hour or something, you might find out that a whole brand new city would come up there.
Well, you could build your city around the wind farm.
Right.
But the point is that the wind farm needs a huge amount of space.
Right.
And so does the solar panel.
Solar panels.
It's like massive.
Right.
In terms of the amount of space that's required for the people that use the energy, you can't get anywhere near the kilowatt hours per square meter that you need out of wind and solar.
Whereas a nuclear power plant, which eats up
problem.
a couple of acres,
Yeah.
and you could, that's it. Yeah, that's true. Let's see, I had the Trump administration. And this is another thing, talk about the Black Swan thing. Pompeo says the Taliban, quote, overreached an attack that killed an American. I'm thinking, this is over there. It's over there in Afghanistan or wherever it is, and apparently an American soldier got killed. And suddenly, are we going back to war again over this? I mean, it's a horrible thing.
The hoorah about this was the fact that he had invited the Taliban to Camp David.
Right.
And everybody was like, oh my God, how can you, A, talk to terrorists? Because according to Bush, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Right.
And B, how can you bring them to the revered Camp David where Margaret Thatcher and everybody and Yasser Arafat have been...
Right, yeah, that's right.
Well, that was the thing. I'm like, people were saying, well, look, for two things. Number one, you have to talk to your enemies. Because if you don't, they'll always be your enemies.
Right.
So you better open some lines of communication and at least have a dialogue back and forth or something. And I'm going to tweet at them today. That's right. But then the second thing is, in terms of location, everybody was recreationally outraged because it was going to be at Camp David. And my thoughts are, well, you got three choices for where the place is going to be.
Mar-a-Lago.
Well, right, yeah, exactly. I mean, look, your three choices are their territory, our territory, or neutral territory. Well, do we really want our president of the United States going to their territory? I don't think so.
Well, except he's gone to North Korea.
Yeah, but we're not at war with North Korea.
That's
You don't drop into
Okay,
the Taliban-ruled area, man. They would do everything they can. And then the second thing is, neutral, fine, whatever, but why not do it at Camp David, where we have total control over everything? There's nothing, not like they're going to come over here and bomb somebody on the way.
Well, I would think if I was one of Mr. Taliban guy, I'm not sure I'd want to go to Camp David.
Well, yeah, I'm with you there. Maybe that was his plan. He was going to bag a bunch of them. I don't know.
Bag them. Yeah. You know, you can imagine inviting Julian Assange over, which I had another story about him. I'm not going to, but, you know, come on over to Camp David. We'll see what we can do. Shoot, you got to be kidding me. He'd be crazy.
We'll talk about your release conditions.
That's right. So I thought this was, Pompeo said it is now up to the Taliban to, quote, change their behavior. You know, okay, you've got a tiger, okay, and you say, or I know it was like in Finding Nemo or one of those things where they asked the sharks to be vegetarians. Mm-hmm. Sharks don't eat meat or something. I'm thinking, shut up. You know, this is the Taliban.
Well, look, they can ask. Look, they're humans. They're not tigers.
Resolved through a series of conversations.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the whole point. Is look, they're humans. They have needs and desires and wants, whatever they are, and maybe some of them can't be reasoned with. But in general, you can reason with anybody. Let's just you can at least meet with them.
I suppose, but they
make up lies. You don't have to believe what they say.
No, that's right. You don't. Of course, it was a secret meeting. Which says right here.
Until it wasn't.
They canceled a secret meeting until it wasn't. That's right. Okay, let me see how we're doing here. We're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Moving right along. Let me just see here if I've got something that is, we can talk, speaking of aliens, and whatever it is, Area 51. China's biggest radio telescope has picked up over 100 mysterious signals from outer space.
Yeah, but these aren't extraterrestrials.
Well, they said they think that it's maybe not terrestrial. You know, they're thinking it's probably something. They call them FSBs, which are fast repeating bursts or something like that are unusual. They've never seen them before. Picked it up. And the nice thing about it is that I'm looking here, the unknown. The thing about that, you really don't have to worry too much about it. They don't know exactly where they're coming from, but they think they've isolated to a place 3 billion light years from here.
Yeah, so they already traveled here, and they're like right at the door at this point.
Right. Well, when you think about it, right, those bursts originated 3 billion years ago.
Right.
So, is that civilization still around?
Yeah,
I don't think so. No, that's right. So let me see now. I've got a thing here on Warren's.
I'll be. Show me when they've got the image of the guy there.
Yeah, that's right.
We get a telescope image of some alien's face, I'll believe it.
Right. Well, of course, you know, they were having a thing the other day about they were showing the little snaky things all over the sky.
Yeah, I know. And like I said, I'll believe it.
Yeah, well, they, of course, as usual,
the ship lands.
It was totally blurred, everything, and somebody said it was just some weather balloon that had collapsed and was up floating around in there. I mean, what are you talking about? Didn't make any sense at all. So, I've got. Do you want to talk about Warren's socialist plan? I don't know about that.
Well, I think we should mention the debates.
Oh, okay, yes.
Because there were several things.
That's right. Well, she came up with a new plan. Hard to believe. She's the planner. One? Yeah. No, right before the debates, I think she did. Let's see here. She unveiled another key aspect in her progressive agenda hours before the third Democrat presidential debate in Houston, proposing Thursday to raise Social Security benefits by $200 a month. Here's the gift: $200 a month. Me, I get another $200 a month, and to pay for it by raising taxes on the rich. Here you are, Jimmy. Here's, your collected Social Security, and it's interesting because they said that the average is about 4 times what I get. But and for $200, man, I'll tell you, I have a nice time on that.
Hey, maybe it's worth voting for Warren, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, what you got to do, you got to weigh that against whether you're going to get the $1,000 a month from Andrew.
True.
And so that's he's got her by 5 times.
That's right.
I created a profile this week on Twitter called Candidate Double Down.
Okay.
Where I promised to give double what any other candidate offered anybody.
We talked about this.
I know we do. I'm just repeating it, and then of course, free car, free house, free cell phone, and
my Obama phone,
and you get a free job. And college pays you.
What's a free job?
It's a guaranteed job that you like. You get to watch TV or something, and you get paid.
Oh, or a mattress sampler.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how well can you sleep on this mattress?
That's right.
So anyway, I actually deleted it shortly thereafter because it's just too ridiculous. But
In this day and age,
it doesn't sound like it almost.
I got news for you. Things that are normal today. When I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, you think, no chance on this planet.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how can everybody be all upset about Trump's influence on the election by paying off Stormy Daniels to not say negative things about him?
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, that's a violation of campaign finance laws,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other hand, literally giving away money from your campaign funds is not.
Well, this would be taxes on the rich.
Well, no, but his campaign thing is.
Who, Yang?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, right.
Yang announced the other week at the thing that he's going to pay 10 random families $1,000
Okay,
a month
right.
to test out in a scientific test 10 people, 10 families, and I'm sure he's going to ask them later, did you like the money? Was it better for you to have the money or not? Would you like to still have the money? And if they answer yes to all those things, then he's going to check that off as a scientifically confirmed fact that in fact people want the money. And it's just amazing to me that nobody questions that particular campaign finance strategy.
George Bush sent everybody a couple $100.
Well, that was a tax break. I'm with you.
No, actually sent cash.
No, I know it did.
Yeah.
But it was, and the money came back to you.
Yeah,
I
it
remember.
did.
But this is the kind of thing we're at now. This is
I know.
it's how much am I going to get from which candidate?
Well, this is the beauty, of course, as we say, and then for good reason, this article puts rich in quotes, which means not rich. I mean, anytime you see something in quotes, it's the opposite. And she's largely driven her campaign on the unofficial slogan, "I have a plan for that."
Yeah.
And she unveiled her plan to expand Social Security benefits. And she says typical Social Security benefits today are quite small. And what's interesting, of course, is it was originally touted as your retirement plan. You didn't have to save. The government, you made this contribution by law, of course, and this money went into a trust fund. And when you retired at 65, you got to draw it, and then you could draw in a comfortable retirement, drawing on your Social Security benefits.
So
that you put
it's
in
the
there.
same. That's the same as it is now.
Yeah.
But now it's what? No, seriously. Like what? You said it used to be that. What were you contrasting that with?
What it is today.
Which is
Nobody can retire. Nobody can have a life on Social Security requirements. If you paid in, remember, it's got started in the 30s, in the middle 30s. If you started working in 1940 or 50 or whatever it was, and worked for 45 or 50 years, always making the contributions. So, what we're talking about, say, 19, let's say you retired in 1985 or 1990. That money that you would collect would no way give you any kind of a life retirement. It certainly wouldn't give you the type of life that you've been living up until that point. By a long shot.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, here, look, what happened?
well, obviously it needs to be raised then, right?
Right, yeah. Well, interesting you should mention this. That's why they had, in the 70s, when the inflation was going crazy, they had the COLA. That's when they started the COLA, the
Cost of living
adjustment. And because the seniors were marching on Washington saying, I'm eating dog food, I cannot afford anything on my Social Security. So that's when they revamped it and extended, and that's when they changed the contribution from 3 or 4% to 5 or 6%, half, and of course they disguised it because
saved it.
They saved it, but half of the money comes from the employer, so you don't see it.
Right.
You never, that's right now it's 15%, half paid by the employer. So as far as your paycheck is concerned, you're only deducted like 7.5% or something. I mean, it's all a shell game, as you know.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a horrible shell game too.
And it's a Ponzi
I hired
scheme.
an employee one time, told her I was going to pay her $20 an hour, and after taxes, I said. Well, she didn't deduct my tax portion of that,
Yeah.
and so she wanted more money based on.
Yeah.
She's like, no, you're not paying me. I'm like, yes, I am. She's like, no, you can't count that because that's your tax burden,
Right.
Not my tax burden.
Well, it is fascinating to
You're fired.
to see these that they're going to tax the rich, and of course the main thing they want to do is they talk about they bury you in statistics and in data. this much money here, average of this much money. Of course, the average over the 100 million people that are getting Social Security, whatever it is, and it means nothing because it's all over the place. So the pointing to the GOP tax cuts, she's accusing the GOP of giving away $1.5 trillion in the Trump tax cuts. So obviously she wants to take some of that back. So she says she describes it personally as the biggest and most progressive increase in Social Security benefits in nearly half a century, and she's probably right. She an immediate increase of $200 a month.
I don't know why she didn't just double it.
Why
being all conservative?
I don't understand. Like I say, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Why wouldn't you just co-opt every other person on the stage?
This is what we've always said. When you have the 10 people on the stage, you want to be last.
That's it. Everything they just said,
double.
I'll double it.
That's it. So anyway, and of course they use what I love this is they use these are the words that are always used to deceive people, and I'm stunned to think that people just don't break out in a fetal position laughing when these words come out, such as they're going to ask the top 2% of the family to contribute
That's right.
their fair share.
Yeah.
Are you nuts? These are the words that they always...
Well, look, we are in 1984 word salad land right now.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get into that in a minute, too. But like you said, obviously those words we're going to force the rich to pay, whether they like it or not.
We're going to confiscate money
from them
at the point of a gun.
That's right.
And then we're going to redistribute.
That's right, and not their fair share, but more than they can.
Way more than their fair share. Because right now they're paying more than their fair share.
Way.
Right now, the top 10% pay 60, 70, or 40 or 50% of the thing. So
yeah, and that doesn't even consider if you were to actually think about dollar amount in terms of their fair share. It is
right.
It's beyond staggering how much more they pay.
Well, of course, and here's some other keywords. She wants to increase benefits for lower income families, women, people with disabilities, public sector workers, and people of color. Mm-hmm. There you have it. I'm out.
Right. Well, yeah. Why don't you just say no whites?
No whites. People of color. Think about it. That. Yeah, people of color pretty much.
That means no whites.
That means no white.
Right.
And so this is a black supremacist thing.
Yeah, well, again, this is just to fix all of the injustices of the past.
And what she wants to do, of course, she wants her 2% quote wealth tax unquote on every American with over $50 million in assets. The problem with that, obviously, as we all know, is that 2% a year means that after a while.
Oh, I thought it was a one-time.
Oh no, I don't think so. No, 2% wealth tax on every man. I don't know because one of the problems with that, you have to understand if this is going to be a long-term. If this is going to
Yeah, but see, now you're thinking that she's thinking about maintaining something or maintenance.
Yeah, right.
Going
but the
forward.
point is, if you get the 2% in the first year and you spend it, then what do you do next year?
Well, then you come up with a brand new plan. That's 3%. Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's right.
Why would you put it in stone at 2?
Okay, let me just go through a couple of things here. We can talk about Cuba, maybe. I don't know. The House Committee, the impeachment is still on. This is one thing I did want to mention. Two things actually I wanted to mention. One was the California law on rideshare drivers may hurt the gig economy, which I think the gig economy is.
That's Uber and.
Yeah, that's Uber and then interesting. What they want to do is they want to make sure that everybody that works as an independent contractor
is an employee.
It's not only Uber and Lyft, it's the truck drivers.
The truck drivers.
Truck drivers are not employees; they're independent contractors.
Oh, okay.
A lot of truck drivers are independent contractors. And I mean, you see this all the time on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
You want to have your own truck? We will make sure you have loads.
Yeah.
So right away, suddenly they have to do all this paperwork and everything. And of course, the labor activists are calling this. They're celebrating California's move to have drivers treated as employees by the rideshare firms. Again, remember now, this also includes all the truckers which move, I don't know, forget Uber and Lyft, but forget the truckers, you don't want to forget about them. A landmark bill was approved by the state Senate, and apparently it's going to be signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. The legislation, which is being closely watched in other states, argue that companies like Uber and Lyft And the truck companies don't say that, of course, they deny them employee benefits. So you don't get you don't get maternity leave, you don't all this other stuff that you're supposed to get, time and a half for overtime, and so there's a huge win for workers across the nation. It's time to rebuild the middle class and ensure all workers that they have basic protections that they deserve.
They're going to devastate those businesses.
Totally devastate, because you think about it. One of the things that happens is, what happens when you're an Uber driver or Lyft driver, for instance, and you hang out? You know, like here on game day, not game day, but in the evening, you know, you can go up here and park next to the university, and when the bar's let out, you make your thing. But are you going to get paid for that waiting around time?
Well, and the way that it's structured right now is, the way that it's structured right now is all the Uber and Lyft drivers, and I guess the truck drivers, would have to now be on schedules.
Right.
Like you said, every hour would have to be kept track of, and overtime, as you say.
Overtime, right.
And massive administration.
But who's going to pay that? Well, of course, what they obviously are going to do.
They're going to make the rich pay for it.
Well, no. What they're going to do is they're going to have the company, quote unquote,
the rich company.
Uber and those. Well, of course, they're losing their ass. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Uber and Lyft they're in the hole. They're not making.
Don't look.
They are getting killed right now. They are losing literally billions every year so far. They haven't ramped up enough to make any money. But the thing is, is Uber going to pay these drivers for sitting around?
That's what they want. Yeah.
And of course, I guess they want the trucking company. Of course, if you own your own truck, and and it's on demand kind of thing, you get a call from your dispatcher, for instance, that says you can go down here to Publix and get a load.
Hey, look, hopefully this won't go anywhere, because once they start to consider the actual administration that would have to be created,
they're getting ready to sign the law in California that's what they said. It says here, it's a huge win it's time to rebuild. Let me see here. It says digital platforms. Where is it? It says here that labor activists, it said right here. Oh, here, expected to send it to the California Governor Gavin Newsom. So it's approved 29-11 late Tuesday in the state Senate, with the Assembly, which has already approved it, and now it goes to Gavin Newsom. All he has to do is sign it, and then it's who knows what. So
one of these days they're going to do something that's just going to devastate their economy.
Well, that's one of them. But then it's somebody else's fault.
Well, sure. But what'll happen is, of course, there'll be an exodus of those people, a massive shutdown of all the transportation, and there'll be a backlash at some point.
All right. Well, I have one piece of good news.
Okay.
Before I've got a couple of things here, but I got one piece of good news for people that are tired of this country. Italian region is offering £8,000 a year to newcomers prepared to move to dying villages. Mm-hmm. Now, interestingly enough, I looked at the map. Mm-hmm. This is down in the boot of Italy. Okay. And it's waterfront. These are waterfront places like this. These villages have been dying because they got no business down there or something. But the way it works is really great. They will pay you £8,000 a year, which is about a little more than $8,000. For newcomers. Now here you're retired now. Now you have your Social Security, which don't pay dork. Mm-hmm. You move to Italy, and then you have to start a business, which can be online. Mm-hmm. I mean, you take your computer over there, for God's sakes.
Uber.
Well, whatever. I don't know. You have to be in business for 5 years, whatever it is. Although I don't know if they're going to pay $8,000 lira, whatever they are a year. If they're going to do that, if you don't have if the business is only for 4 years, do they have a?
Yeah. See, that's the thing about UBI and the guaranteed thing from Alaska and all stuff. If they're giving you money, they can stop giving you money.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. If the government that can give you everything can take it all away. Well, I thought this was great, because this is their meddling. They want to settle in villages that are in danger of dying out. And the fact is that you have to go to a city that has at least, let's see, a population of under 2,000. So it's a small town.
What the hell kind of business are you going to start in that kind of?
Online.
I guess. I
mean, and the fact is that you
can't even do like lawn mowing and that kind of.
Who knows? My point is, if you're on a retirement income already, mm-hmm. and you want to learn Italian, and go on the seashore in the Mediterranean,
this is your option.
And you start a job that pays you $100 a month.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
They're paying you $8,000 a year,
and you're getting.
So anyway, you have to run a business for at least 5 years, and there's no shortage of places. places to choose from. Of the region's 136 villages, more than 100 have populations of under 2,000. I mean, this is le deal, or is that what? Yeah, le deal, right? So anyway, maybe it's la deal. Anyway, the point is, if you're retired and let's say your retirement, your pension or whatever is, and you decide you don't want to go to Mexico, you go over here and they will pay you. The Mexicans aren't going to pay you. These guys.
It sounds like a great deal.
I tell you, and of course the beauty of it is Italian is not all that much different from Spanish.
No, yeah. So you're good if you're coming from Florida.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm done with. It's just about time to go.
Oh, geez, I got so many.
I know that's the thing.
So many little things.
I'm sorry, you got you got 4 minutes for this stuff. I give you no time. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let's see if this thing was okay. Well, the debate we did. Except for the one thing I also wanted to mention was Beto, of course, we're coming to get your AR-15.
Yes.
Interestingly, well, what's funny is to watch all the other candidates try to walk that back.
Did they?
Like Cory Booker and them say, well, that doesn't mean we're actually going to come get them. It means we're going to ask them to turn them in. That's right.
Well, they're going to, and of course, I like the part about the mandatory buyback.
Well, right. And here's the thing. Of course, you know what's going to happen there is, I would say 90% of people, because they're law-abiding, good citizens, are going to go ahead and comply. And then the 10% who are vigilant
criminals.
Well, no, they're in that group. They're definitely in the 10% who will not turn in their AR-15s.
Right.
0% of criminals will turn in their guns.
Right.
So you're literally disarming the good people and letting the bad people keep their arms. It would be like saying, all right, we want all the cops to turn in their guns. And we're going to give you some billy clubs. And of course, the bad cops would keep their guns, and then all the good cops would turn them in. And it's like,
yeah, okay. Well, I'm not sure that parallels, but I mean, it's mostly with the criminals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's criminals everywhere. Okay, fine.
All right. Felicity Huffman got 14 days in
Saw
jail.
that.
I think she'll serve about 2.
Really?
Yeah, that's my guess.
Because I thought it was interesting, because needless to say, there was a flare-up, not among the Hollywood people, but other people said, wait, 14 days? That you can hold your breath for that.
Well, right, and that's what it should be. She freaking didn't hurt anybody.
Right.
All she did was try to get her daughter into college.
Yeah.
And okay, so she skirted some rules or whatever. Well, I mean, look, civil or something. I mean, you really got to send this woman to jail for this? I mean, and yet,
the prosecutor wanted time. Really?
Well, they only wanted 30 days.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, they came down. They originally wanted a lot more than that, and they came back down to 30.
Okay.
But in terms of Laughlin, the other woman who paid $500,000 to get her daughters into USC by faking their crew things.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe they did the SAT thing. I can't remember. No, I think Huffman did the SAT thing. And anyway, she's looking at 40 years.
No.
Yeah, which is life, of course. Life in
what?
prison.
What? For what?
That?
What's the charge?
I don't know. Getting your daughter into college.
No. But that's where's that in the statute?
Bribery or something. I mean, they fraud or something. They'll make something up. It's a nebulous charge. 40 years. So now, if that doesn't illustrate the ridiculousness of our system, I mean, life in prison. There are prosecutors right now today who have written on a piece of paper that they want this woman to spend life in prison at our expense, $30,000 a year for however long she lives. It's amazing. And of course, now I will say this: she's not going to get that. I bet she gets about 6 months and does 30 days.
Okay.
Because what they do is they threaten you with life in prison.
Of course they do.
So that you plead.
They do that all the time.
Right. But the whole point, it's ridiculous that they are allowed to do that they get away with being able to threaten life in prison for a normal person. To a normal person here. She has no possibility of being able to fight this because she can't take the chance. She's already blown it by pleading not guilty in the very beginning because they were trying to make an example out of her and the other girl. So as soon as she said not guilty, they were like, oh, well, that's it. You're going down now, and as hard as we can possibly slam you. Because that's what they do. Prosecutors love people who confess or who they know they have in their crosshairs. They have no remorse at all about throwing the book at them and burying them under the jail. That's just...
Well, along those lines, I will tell you this. It is, I think on my Roku, I think I can go to Crackle. I think it's pretty. Anyway, on my Roku, they have a button on there where you can ask for something. So I asked for and justice for none.
Injustice for all.
I mean, injustice for all. Now, let me just tell you this. There are 100 ads in this stupid thing. That's what they get. But I'm going to tell you this. If you happen to have a Roku and you do your voice thing, skip to the end, because you skip all the ads that way. And you skip literally to the last 4 minutes of that movie. And that is the best thing you'll ever see in your life. That is when De Niro stands up there and does in front of the jury. Now this was done.
Right.
This was done 1970. Huh? I mean Al Pacino, right? Al Pacino does this. This is one of the most fabulous scenes I have ever seen in my life.
Well, it's too bad it didn't stick, because here's another thing.
God, that was. I mean, I'm gonna go watch it when I get out of here. I gotta go watch it again.
Here's another thing that happened this week. A guy in 2017 out fishing with his buddies caught a shark. And they decided to kill the shark in a cruel way by tying it up behind their boat, their speedboat, and dragging it through the water. And they videoed the whole thing, and they were laughing and having a good time with it or whatever. So they killed the shark, or they wounded it badly or whatever, and in this cruel treatment. And they arrested those guys for cruel treatment of a shark.
Okay.
And so your justice system, you personally have paid thousands of dollars now to prosecute 3 people, one of whom will spend 10 days in jail for shark cruelty. I'm not even freaking making this up.
Wait a minute. Is that that's 10 days is for Felicity? I thought.
No, well, yeah, well, that she got 14.
Oh, okay.
And the shark guy gets 10 days for mistreatment of a shark.
Okay.
One shark.
Okay.
A fish.
Uh-huh.
We had prosecutors and judges. We assembled people into rooms and spent thousands and thousands of dollars for this one shark. I'm like what the hell?
Yeah.
The other guy got a $2,500 fine and 3 years suspension of his fishing license. And $250 community service at the local animal shelter. Here's the interesting thing. The comments were like, kill them all.
Is that right?
Kill those guys.
Oh my God.
Hang them, drag them behind the boat.
Show them what it's
Seriously.
like, by God.
Exactly.
Punishment to fit the crime.
That's right. Eye for an eye.
Oh.
Human for a shark. And that was literally the comments one after. There were 600 comments. I couldn't find a comment that was pro guy. It was all pro shark.
I hope you put one in there.
I did.
Okay, good.
I did.
Did you get pilloried?
I haven't checked yet. I'm sure I've been banned again. Or
That's
whatever.
right. That's right. You're still banned from someplace.
From ABC. Yeah, from ABC. Yeah. So I'm just blown away by the freaking.
And the thing about it is, a shark is not. I understand if it's like a fuzzy little puppy.
Right.
But it's a dog, but I mean it's a fuzzy little puppy or a little kitten. But a shark.
It's exactly. If they'd fallen in the water, the shark would have eaten their ass.
Exactly.
And we kill. I mean, we euthanize millions of dogs and cats every year. But I guess we do it in the way that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had caught the shark and eaten the shark,
Yeah.
no problem.
No problem. Right.
It's incredible to me. It's incredible to me that the prosecutor and the judge sat there and
Didn't laugh him out of it.
I mean, seriously.
I mean,
what
seriously.
The hell? And there are people calling for the judge to go down too because he didn't sentence him to a year in prison and stuff like that. It's like, what the hell? I mean, what the actual hell is going on with the law enforcement? DARPA has a new project
Okay.
whereby they create fake news
No.
and spread it out there in an effort to see how it affects people.
What?
Yes, I'm not kidding.
This is a defense association, whatever, research people.
Yeah, exactly.
This is your government, your
This is
military government in action.
That's
Okay.
right. Your tax dollars have hired researchers at the PhD level to try to promote.
Fool you.
Literally. And
To fool you.
They're literally creating fake news stories to try to see how people get influenced. And I'm just like, what? You idiots! You're creating the noise. You're literally creating the noise. The whole point is there's enough good stuff out there on the internet so that you can weed through the bad stuff and find the good stuff. And yet these guys are actually out there promoting it. It's amazing.
Well,
We're paying for it.
Well, what I thought was interesting, what I see from time to time, is I see an article like that, and you read the comments, and they're saying, scam. No, this is bullshit. You know, every once in a while, they'll call them out, right out on them on
well, right. And so here's what the woman was disconcerted because all the videos that they were created, she said, were very good fakes.
Okay.
And they were disconcerted because it appeared to them that people in the public were believing bad fakes. Like they would see a bad fake and they would believe it.
Okay.
And then so they were confused by this. They were like, oh, that's so weird. And then they realized, oh gee, it's confirmation bias. Like if you want to believe it, you're going to believe it.
Right.
Even if it's a crappy video.
Right.
And so, again, perplexed, she did a scientific survey where she asked her family and friends about the internet, and her kid came out with the correct answer, which is, I don't believe anything on the internet. It's all a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Like, you're stupid if you believe anything.
Yeah.
You know, and she's like, well, maybe that old saw about seeing is believing is wrong. Well, of course it's wrong. Like, it's been wrong for a long time.
Yeah,
It's been
this
wrong
day and
since...
age, you kidding me? Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, the other adage is believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. I mean, you know, and that's a much better. And it's just, I was just shocked that these people, PhD people, are out there creating
And
this
they're getting paid.
Oh yeah, totally. We're paying them. BBC came out this week with a list of 100 genders.
No.
100 genders. Now, here is a list.
This is a joke, right? This is part of DARPA put this up.
No, this, yeah,
No,
God, I hope so.
This is what happened. DARPA put this up. That's exactly what happened.
Look, man, here are 32 of the genders.
Okay, I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Now look. Now here's the thing. When you start with 2, right? You start with 2. There's been 2 for millennia, and
Forever.
forever.
I mean, for billions of years.
That's right. For billions of years, there's been 2. Right. Now, okay. Now, maybe we can expand it to 3 if somebody's born without their junk or something, right?
All right. Or
okay.
with 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 4. All right. Now, okay. If you want to say somebody's oriented one way or the other, all right, sure. There you go. You get 6 out of it now. All right. Now, then. How do you get to freaking 100 from that?
Well, it's right here on.
Well, I know, but here's the thing: if you start looking up these definitions here, which are things like demi-boy and demi-girl and third gender, and these things, they're literally just made up because they're defined in terms of the other things. They're defined like all the same way. Like third gender is the same as several of the other ones. And here's the thing, if you can say third gender and you define it, you define third gender as not first or second gender, well then you can say there's a fourth gender that's defined as not first, second, or
Right.
third. And then literally you have infinity genders.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking at here at some of the little signs there.
Right.
And I mean, some of those I would not expose those to my children.
Yeah. Well, look, they're just. I'm just going to go ahead and say that they're just dumb. I mean,
There's one there that looks like a guy blowing a horn.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's just remarkable to me. The other thing that happened this week is a singer. This guy Sam Smith came out as plural.
Okay.
Okay, so he wants everybody to use plural pronouns when referring to him.
Okay. Them, they, all.
That's right.
Okay.
So when you refer to they, which of course means him in this context, then
say that.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's the whole point. You can't even describe what you're talking about because he's confusing the issue by making it a plural thing. And somebody had a great little quip on the internet where they went back. They said, well, if you call they these pronouns, then they will have you arrested because they don't like it when they get called him or something. I mean, it was just like ridiculous.
Right.
And you're just like, what the actual hell? I mean, seriously. Like, look, here, look, let me just state right ahead. I don't care what gender anybody wants to be or who they want to love or whatever it is. They can do whatever they want. But you can't just make up words and force people to call you those things.
No, you can make up the words.
Right.
It's the force part.
Right. You can't,
And if you're going to force, that means there's a gun.
Well, right, but I mean, what I'm talking about is they do the shaming thing or whatever. Like, oh, you call me. I wonder how this guy's friends are dealing with this. For example, let's say you're in his family, you're his cousin or something. And you know, you're in a group. There's 3 people standing around, and you say, well, I'm sorry, they want this, and then they want to go over there, and you say, wait, who's they? Well, just him. I mean, just the singular person over there. You have to
Well, this is all self-extinguishing. I don't worry about it. I mean, to me, and of course, what normally would happen in a case like this is you lose your friends pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, your relatives are saying to you, is they going to be there?
Exactly.
I'm not coming.
Exactly. Are they really going to say that stuff? No, they're not.
No.
They're just not. You can't ask somebody to just change the grammar that they're going to use whenever they're... Look, personal pronoun doesn't mean it's just yours, okay?
Right. Well, what's interesting, here's what I am thinking about. I just said this.
Mm-hmm.
Is they going to be there? Now, gonna is singular. That is no. I'm sorry. You can
Are
say-
they or are... Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you say is they versus are they.
Exactly.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so what happens if you use the singular verb with the plural pronoun?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Right. Exactly. Who knows?
I guess it's remarkable.
Is
that
they going to be there?
Yeah. What? I mean, what?
Well, that obviously means a singular,
Right.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Or maybe you just misspoke. There's no way to know. It's like it's just too dang confusing. So this guy's getting a lot
That'd
of
be
press.
the way to do things, man.
And just this guy's getting a lot of press right now. To me, this is like this is just like, look at me, like I'm gonna be the first one to be the they guy or whatever. And it's just like it's just amazing. And I'm sure everybody's come out and said this is so brave.
Yeah. So what is it? What is it? It's brave and
Bold
and brave. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
It's the new meme now. That's so bold, so brave.
It's so amazing, is what I'm going to say. It's like, really, you're going to lose your friends just so fast.
So?
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. All right. Let's see. Should I do that one? Well, God. Barbie came out with a new Barbie doll. To help Mexicans celebrate El Dia de Muerte, the Day of the Dead.
Okay.
And so they decorated this whole Barbie up as a Day of the Dead, how they decorate themselves. And of course, everybody's screaming cultural appropriation.
Oh, God, yes.
You white Barbie, put your Mexican clothes on or whatever. And it's just amazing people are still fighting about cultural appropriation. The numbers that you use are Arabic, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
appropriated it. If you don't want to appropriate another person's culture, then
now, is this Barbie white?
I
mean, what if they tinted Barbie?
yeah, well, that's
Is that
just probably in blackface or something. I don't know. I don't know. All I can say is it's just people losing their minds.
They lose their
Losing
mind
their
over
freaking
this.
minds over this. It's amazing. All right.
We
All
might-
right. I guess that's it.
We have to save some stuff for.
Yeah. Well,
Wednesday.
it's crazy out of control things.
No,
this week.
I mean this last. Seriously, since we were on last, I still had 4 more things here.
Yeah, I know. I got 4
Just,
too as well.
That you just. I mean, it was such a crazy news week. I mean, my jaw dropped like almost every 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? Just again and again. This was in our Are You Kidding Me week.
Yeah.
Again and again.
All
I mean,
right.
supposedly grown people, mature people, are coming out with this stuff. And I remember when they were talking in Congress, they said, well, the adults have to take over now and we have to be adult. I'm thinking, well, that's what you're supposed to be, and it's pretty obvious you
Oh
ain't.
yeah, no. Well, it was funny. During the debate, Harris was like, "In the do nothing Congress," and I'm thinking, "That's you.
Yeah.
It's literally you."
Yeah.
She bashed Congress for
And of course, the answer to that is, so what?
well,
I don't want them to do anything anyway.
Well, yeah, but it's just funny. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Kenny, good to see you, sir. Let's see if I can get the music back here.
It would get the music back.
It'll only take me about 5 minutes to get through these.
Well, that's what happens when you're talent and producer.
Well, it's not that. I had a little computer issue last week, and now everything is in
different places.
Exactly. And it's like amazing. And I can't.
So we got a week to go now before our next game.
Yep. So these tracks brought to you by Kevin McLeod. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Yep. Gators coming up. And I guess we'll see what happens. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday.